Ex-F1 driver David Coulthard says Cadillac comeback king Sergio Perez may struggle to match his new teammate Valtteri Bottas, who spent his year out on the sidelines as Mercedes reserve. Checo left Red Bull Racing by mutual agreement at the end of 2024, with 2 years left to run on his contract, and dropped from public life, instead spending time with his family in Mexico. But while Perez has prepared for the coming F1 season with training and several tests, including a private one at Imola in a 2023 Ferrari, DC says Bottas will have the edge, given he stayed close to the sport, did tyre tests, and a show run in South Korea. I'm a little bit concerned for Perez, who's really enjoyed the siesta of a year off, Coulthard said. I don't doubt his commitment, but can you switch it back on when you've switched it off? Pirelli cancelled plans for a Bahrain wet tyre test ahead of this weekend's season opener in Australia, following nearby missile strikes as part of the escalating conflict between the USA, Israel, and Iran. Pirelli was set to run the test using modified Mercedes and McLaren mule cars this week, but cancelled for security reasons after Iranian forces said they had struck a US naval base in Bahrain. F1 is closely monitoring the situation, with Middle Eastern rounds coming up in April, a double-header in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. The sport says these rounds are not for a number of weeks. FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem says safety and well-being will guide the sport's decisions as it assesses forthcoming events scheduled in the Middle East, with the World Endurance Championships' late March season openers in Qatar at the Lusail International Circuit its most immediate concern. Monaco will be a key focus this season, following approvals from the FIA's World Motorsport Council that will close up the engine compression ratio loophole from June the 1st, just ahead of the Principality's street race. The controversial rules rethink was forced after it was alleged Mercedes was able to run beyond the 16-to-1 limit while on track, with the regs stating the engine would only be measured while cold. But pressure from its power unit manufacturer rivals forced the FIA to act and develop a method to be able to quantify how the compression ratio changes across conditions. That process will now be in place from June 1st ahead of Monaco, where F1's engines will need to be compliant in cold and hot conditions. The FIA also scrapped Monte Carlo's mandated two-stop rule. Ex-F1 driver Jolyon Palmer says Mercedes' confidence in Bahrain testing points to an expected pace advantage come this weekend's 2026 season-opening Australian Grand Prix. Mercedes driver Kimi Antonelli set the second fastest time in the second Bahrain test, 0.8 off top man Ferrari's Charles Leclerc. But while the young gun will no doubt be an increasing force, Palmer told the sport's official podcast F1 Nation that confidence within the team and a lack of performance runs in testing signals a potential advantage that could take Antonelli's teammate George Russell to the title.
They're very, very happy. You see George Russell around the paddock and he's just beaming. It's one of those winters where he's not... There are the various drivers who have different opinions on the cars. The only thing ever that comes out of his mouth is just glowing positivity. And you try and piece it all together and you think they have got something in hand still. So that's the overriding thing. The car looks good and the team are just oozing confidence.
Christian Horner has taken aim at ex-Red Bull colleague Dr. Helmut Marko, stating not only was he responsible for his sudden exit last year, in cahoots with Red Bull's corporate boss Oliver Mintzlaff, but also Liam Lawson's demotion following the Chinese Grand Prix. Horner was sacked in the days after last year's British Grand Prix, with the move blamed on the squad's early season performance and not the twice KC-dismissed misconduct allegations, amid a much greater political battle for control of the team within Red Bull. Horner said he believes Mintzlaff, not the Verstappens, made the decision with Marko to force his exit, following changes at Red Bull in the aftermath of founder Dietrich Mateschitz's death in 2022. Max's father has never been my biggest fan, Horner said. He's been outspoken about me, but I don't believe the Verstappens were responsible in any way. Ex-F1 driver Ralf Schumacher has pointed his finger at Aston Martin team co-owner Lawrence Stroll for the Green Squad's dire performance, with the German race winner labeling him an autocrat who is seemingly making the decisions on his own. Aston Martin heads to F1 2026's season opener in Australia in crisis, with its car over 4 seconds off the pace in Bahrain's test, slower than F1 startup Cadillac, which is yet to notch a single start. But while Aston Martin ambassador Pedro de la Rosa says the outfit is lining up behind its new team principal Adrian Newey, the sport's greatest ever designer, to salvage its campaign, Schumacher says the buck stops with Stroll, who will face increasing pressure from investors. Though he believes the Green Squad now just needs time to reset. Stroll has his own way of doing things, he told Sky Sport Germany's F1 podcast Backstage Box and Gasser. He doesn't really talk to anyone. You see him, but he hardly gives interviews. He hasn't earned this by a long shot. Jack Doohan has revealed he received menacing death threats at his last F1 race start, 2025's Miami Grand Prix, which warned his arms and legs would be cut off if he didn't vacate the seat. Doohan's Alpine race seat was in question going into the Floridian event, having crashed in Australia and Japan, and to that point failed to match his teammate Pierre Gasly. But amid escalating pressure on the French squad to replace him with its then reserve Franco Colapinto, Doohan was forced to hire 3 armed bodyguards to protect him in Miami, and admitted to Netflix's Drive to Survive program he wasn't able to enjoy his short stint on the Grand Prix grid. I got serious death threats for this Miami Grand Prix, saying they're going to kill me here if I'm not out of the car, Doohan said. I had 6 or 7 emails saying if I'm still in the car by Miami, all my limbs will be cut off. F1 tyre supplier Pirelli has made a huge change ahead of the season, with news that Mario Isola has stepped down as head of motorsports, replaced by Dario Marafuschi from March the 1st. Isola led Pirelli's motorsport department from 2017, having replaced Paul Hembry, who led the Italian brand back into the pinnacle of motorsport. Isola will provide support to Marafuschi until July 1st, after which he will leave the Italian manufacturer altogether. Thanks for watching. To stay up to speed on all things Formula One, make sure you hit the subscribe button.